My mom was 15 when my sister and I were conceived, and she had no idea that she was going to be having twins. And things were different in the 70s. There wasn't assistance, there was an understanding for women when they had children. You kind of just dropped out of view, and she ended up having to drop out of high school. And she married my father. I'm not 100% sure about this, but I think she was pretty much forced into it because, one, during that time, that was what you did. If you got pregnant, you married a person, but I think also she may have been pressured to. That didn't really last. They were both really young. I think my father was 18 at the time. He wasn't really involved in our lives. I don't really have many memories of him. Then, I guess when my sister and I were about 7, she met her second husband, who would be a stepfather, who ended up pretty much raising us. So, for most of my life, it was just me and my twin sister. So there was my stepfather, my mom. At that point, my mom, she knew that she needed an education, and she knew that she, with 2 children to support, I would say probably her late 20s was when she realized who she was and what she wanted out of life, and had the opportunity to actually start pursuing it. And really set an example for my sister and I as far as the importance of an education. That's when she met my second stepfather, who she fell absolutely head over heels in love with. And it was a very rapidly advancing relationship, and they soon added 3 children. I actually started working with International Rescue Committee. Are you familiar with them? In the 1990s, there was all of this, mayhem with Kosovo and Serbia, and, even like in Africa, there's always been a lot of suffering and a lot of persecution. Well, in 2000, there was an experimental federal project that, and I think Governor Glendenning was the governor at the time, to help and resettle people from other countries into Baltimore. And the Baltimore Resettlement Center there was no place like it, to my knowledge. I really believe I'm right in this. There was no place like it in the United States. It was pretty much one-stop shopping for refugees. Now, refugees, as opposed to immigrants, are people who are fleeing their country because of persecution. They're not coming here for a better life, or they're not coming here because their parents are here. They're coming here because if they stay where they are, they're at threat for loss of life and limb. And these are people who the United Nations contracts with 4 agencies for the resettlement of refugees in the United States, and International Rescue Committee is one of those agencies. And I had an internship with the governor's office in 2000 and worked with the International Rescue Committee, and I worked with them for a couple of years after that, and that was securing donations. I was their volunteer coordinator and their donations coordinator. And we started from scratch. But now International Rescue Committee, they're huge. They have their San Diego office, their New York City office, those are their main offices, but they have satellite offices all around the country. And so people from Albania, people from Kosovo, people from Africa, they would come in all times of the night. These would be people fleeing with nothing, and they would work with the caseworkers, and the caseworkers spoke Albanian, or they spoke whatever language, or they themselves were immigrants, or they were all people who had like masters in social work. And they would bring them over all different times of night, and we would resettle them in Highlandtown. And the idea was, this will help the economy because it's bringing people in. These are people who want jobs. And Highlandtown didn't see it that way. There was a lot of violence toward the immigrants. There was upset. There were many community meetings and meetings with leaders in the Baltimore area. This was around 2000. This was 2000, 2001. And their office is actually, it's like Fleet Street and Eastern Avenue. It's in Highlandtown. And part of the issue was these people, they were coming with nothing. They were coming with absolutely nothing, like just the clothes on their back, the suitcase if they were lucky. So, my job was to make sure that they had furniture, that they had clothing. But what was unique about the resettlement center is that you think about it, you come here, you're coming from, some from a country that doesn't have the technology at all that we have. You've never seen a debit card. You've never shopped in a grocery store. You've never done you're coming here, I mean, you're like a deer in the headlights. You have nothing. How are you supposed to get around, and how are you supposed to get your health care? How are you supposed to get your English as a second language? How are you supposed to get, all these different things are set apart. But the Baltimore Resettlement Center, there was a social worker there, so the Department of Social Work had a social worker there. They had English as a second language there, so they could take their English classes there. They had the Resettlement Center right there. Right across the street was a medical systems. So the refugees could come in, and they could have, and there was also work. There was a person there who helped them to find work, because one of the things that the government requires is that you have to have work within a certain period of time of coming to the United States. People think that, these immigrants come and they take all of our money, and these people were given like $1,400, I think $1,400, and that was supposed to cover their housing, that was supposed to cover their food, that was supposed to cover pretty much everything, and they have a certain period of time where they have to get a job. So, I mean, we're looking at trying to find housing at $400 a month housing. So you can imagine what neighborhoods. So we're taking these people who have nothing, putting them in these neighborhoods. They can't eat, they can't speak English. They don't know how to use the bus system. They don't know how to go to the grocery store and how to use it. You know what I mean? They don't know how to write a check. And that's not true for all of them, but it was true for a lot of them, especially because of that time the people were coming from Albania and Kosovo. But the people from Baltimore were really upset about it, partially because of the cultural thing. One of the situations was in Albania. We're very territorial, like I have my doorstep and nobody's going to come and sit on my doorstep. Well, some of the refugees would go and sit on the doorsteps of other people. And you don't do that in Baltimore City. You don't sit on somebody's doorstep.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of violence. We had a lot of them who were beat up. We had ones who had, things stolen from them. They had rocks thrown into their windows. It was awful. People said that, they're taking their money. These people are different. They don't know how to live here. They're depending on welfare. They're taking our jobs. But these are people, their jobs were like minimum wage jobs, because if you can't speak English, what kind of work are you going to do? They were doing factory work, taking jobs that nobody else wanted. Until we had kids, like I said, we didn't really care about having nice things or about what we did or whatnot, as far as like money-wise. But then when I was pregnant with them, I knew, I really wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. That was what I really wanted. But it wasn't going to happen. But at the same time, I felt like I'm not going to be away from home and have the stress of working a job if I'm going to be making $12 an hour. To me, it just didn't make sense. So that's when I went to nursing school, starting to actually make decent money. It changed what I wanted out of life and what I want. It's funny, like I used to buy my clothes at like Walmart, not think anything of it, not be ashamed, or Target. Now my kids want Under Armour. I want to be able to buy them under things that I didn't think that I would care about before. The area that we live in, it's not known to be a nice area. And now it's like I want to live in an area that is known to be a nice area. I want my kids to go to a certain kind of school, and I'm willing to, work harder for that. I have a bachelor's in government public policy, right? I don't have a bachelor's in nursing. There are a lot of places now that won't hire you unless you have a bachelor's in nursing. And a lot of places will tell you, okay, we will hire you, but you have to get your BSN within so many years. But I don't want to take that time from my kids right now. So I'm thinking, well, maybe just the BSN right now and the master's later. So, that's where I'm like struggling with. I want to be able to get us out of the neighborhood we live in now. I want to be able to put them in better schools. But at the same time, I want to go to their soccer games and I want to spend time with them. So finding that balance of, okay, I want to go to school so that I can do better by them, but at the same time, I don't want to be absent from their lives.